we'll do our meditation in silence and followed by a spoken prayer. But if you can get your feet on the floor so you can ground yourself, take in a deep breath if the lungs allow you to do that, and let it out gently. And let's sit in the silence for a moment, followed by a brief prayer. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and worshiped in a rainbow of ways, infinite mystery, conspiring energy of interdependent co-arising, be with us now, surround us, push us forward, pull us together. We give thanks this day for this opportunity to be together, and so far apart, yet as close as your desktop or your telephone, we're right here with each other. To learn, to laugh, to play, to build a congregation and a better world. May this time bind us and set us free. May we know deep in our bones that we are not alone. We call in our elders, our guardian angels, those pilgrims and pioneers whose shoulders we stand on. We call on you not to rest and to bask in the glow of what we've accomplished in the past, but to be held accountable for the struggles and the challenges and the sacrifices that we make, one to each other, to our families and our communities, and we offer them with love. May we love enough. May love us enough. May we love those yet to come to be enough. To keep raising the bar of expectations and dreams higher and higher. Give us the courage and the conviction to put aside our egos. Give us the courage and the convictions to let go of attachments that don't really matter when we come right down to it. May universal grace be known by all peoples. We call in the congregations of our Unitarian Universalist Association to help one another. We call in the interfaith community to band together to make these days better for our communities. We call in our political leaders to step up and do what's right. We call on the peoples of the planet to demand peace this Memorial Day weekend, to put an end to warfare. We call in our BOW and BOT to guide our feet as we move forward later today with a congregational meeting and the ongoing work of UUCR. Gracious Spirit of life and love, be with us, guide us. Give us the vision to dream beyond ourselves. Give us the humility to see our own shortcomings. Give us the compassion to create a safe space, a safe place for us as we go forward. We lift up those who are celebrating the end of Ramadan and all our spiritual kinfolks around the globe. Dear UUCR people and beyond, may this day and all the days of our collective lives be filled with health, caring, compassion, and love. Blessed be, and amen. Amen, dear people. So I told you, I think those of you who may have heard me in the beginning, that this was a mashup of sorts. You know, you post sermon topics in advance and then the world happens. And of course, the BOW gives me the opportunity to change what I've posted, and yet the landscape has been filled with challenges that I just never actually perceived, never knew to expect. I don't know that any of us knew to expect the challenges that we live with now. So I've got something here, and let's see if it's of value. You all will let me know during coffee hour. You give me some feedback, right? I'll look forward to that. So I pondered the question about guardian angels, where we might be without them. But I think I was thinking beyond guardian angels, because it's that plus, right? Imagine the guardian angel if you believe in that sort of thing. But imagine the godparents, the aunts, the uncles, the teachers, the preachers, the workers in a store, whoever these people were that helped us, assisted us, guided us at some point in our lives. So in this mashup, I'm gathering my thoughts from three very different mental frames, but I think I can tie it together. I'm sharing some human realities of sexuality. I'm sharing some realities that I feel about our human propensity to honor our fallen heroes. I'm sharing the reality that some of us call on angels or ancestors to help us. And I want to lastly lift up our congregation and our association. Let me start with human sexuality, since that's where we started with salt and pepper this morning. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Well, some of you have been talking about sex for a very long time, because some of you are quite along in the years of your life, right? Whether or not you said it to another person, the sexual dialogue was going on in your head. We had questions, we were wondering, we were trying to figure out, where do we fit into this whole sexual reality of mammalian, is that the word? Mammal life, right? These urges that Freud liked to talk about, right? These things are part and parcel of a human existence. Then I tried to look at this in the context of the pandemic. What's happening to people in their sexuality? And I'm like, well, do I have to go back to Masters and Johnson? Is the Kinsey report? Where do I need to look at this human experience and the sexual normative things, or the sexual revolution, the expression of sexuality in ways that some of us never even knew could happen, thought could happen, dared dream that this thing could happen. I thought about my own life and remembered when I got my daughter's mother pregnant when I was a college senior, and my parents demanding that I get married, and how dare I be having sex outside of marriage. And then I did the math with them and said, I knew you had had sex before you were married, because my sister was born less than 9 months, right? I was doing the math. Said, don't be hypocrites, right? Because the world can be filled with hypocrites. But sexuality is everything. It's the solo touch, and it's the intimacy we share with one another. And sexuality takes on a broader network of things in what kind of sex is acceptable. New York State, as progressive as some of us may think New York State is, and honestly, I don't think New York State's very progressive, because there were laws on the book, anti-sodomy laws on the books in New York State till recent time. I say recent time, was that the 1980s? The fact that we've had mayors of the city of New York who have hidden their personal sexuality because they were afraid to be out. The fact that now our young people have the right to, and I'm merging this gendered issue with sexuality, and I know I could get a finger waved at me because it's not the same, but the fact that people get to love who they want to love and self-identify who they are, what they are, why they are, and why they choose to live their lives the way they choose to live their lives means that a sexual revolution exploded on us and continues to manifest in ways that I hope are freeing to the human family. Oh, as I read about sexuality in this pandemic era and the people being home alone, right, sequestered together, right? I wondered about how all these young people and their desires to be active and use Tinder or these dating apps and what's happening. And there was so much information on the internet. I couldn't believe it. And I called a couple sex therapists that I've had contact with, and I asked them what's going on. This isolation thing has been very interesting. Couples have formed that never thought about being couples before, because the idea of being intimate with someone you don't know if they've been tested for this virus, it's changed the way some people, if not many people, are operating. There have been negative manifestations of sexuality during this time, in that some people, much like the HIV crisis, didn't think or don't think enough about themselves or others to be safe, right? Social distancing. I guess phone sexuality should be a big thing now, right? Or I don't know if you can do Zoom room sexuality. I don't think that's a good thing. Don't try it. I certainly am not advocating for it, but somebody's using FaceTime or something to social distance and yet still engage with one another, right? Then there's the couples who have now spent more time together than some of them ever imagined spending together. If you weren't a retiree and weren't hanging out with each other all the time, this has been either the greatest time ever for your sex life or maybe the worst, because maybe you're on each other's last nerve and you just want to find a corner of the house to escape. Or maybe it's like you're a kid again and you're snuggling up under the covers in the middle of the day. ABC television used to have a commercial, Love in the Afternoon. It was all about the soap opera love affairs. But given the COVID-19 staying home, I believe we're going to have a slew of babies born some 8, 9, 10 months from now, right? Because of all the people who have been home for so very long with one another. The unintended benefits. There's a new day, right? A new day dawning. We haven't figured it all out yet. And of course, I mentioned Masters and Johnson and Kinsey, but there are so many people that we could stand on their shoulders. Those brave women who weren't going to subscribe to the sexual ethos of Protestant America or Victorian America, and who dared to be sexual beings. Those LGBTQI people who aren't going to deny their rights to have normal sexual relationships, and who have been pushing the envelope for as long as we can remember. I'm so glad that flag is behind me. There are consequences to all we do, and our faith community has been really good about pushing the agenda, I believe. Marriage equality, the fact that we've had the highest percentage of openly gay or transgendered ministers, I think, in the religious world. We've done great things, and we're moving, and we need to continue to grow. I wanted to transition because I said to you, I wanted to try to mash up several things together. And I wanted to not forget that today is Memorial Day, and I said something about guardian angels and those who came before us. Of course, they're those angels that led the sexual revolution. I still remember the burning of those bras like it was yesterday, because that was a big thing to a kid. I was like, whoa. But it was such a big thing. But I wanted to not lose sight of the fact that, how about this? Mayor Pete, was he the first openly gay candidate for the United States in the primary for the presidency? I'm trying to remember. You all will tell me if I'm mistaken.
Sure.
He was the first?
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. That we've gotten to a place in our society where that, I don't believe, was the single most important issue of his candidacy, right? And he may yet be a vice presidential candidate for all I know, or he'll run again in the future. Bright man that's a service veteran. And Memorial Day both imbues me with a sense of pride in knowing that there have been so many men and women who have stood strong, paid it forward for this country of ours to survive, maybe even to thrive. And Memorial Day gives me a great deal of sadness knowing that over 1 million people, citizens of the United States, have died in our military conflicts over the course of time. 600 some thousand in the Civil War, 100,000 plus in World War I and II, right? These things are horrific, and they're blight on the human family. Warfare is damaging to the victor and to the losers. And we celebrate those who've laid their lives down for us. I remember a young child telling me once they didn't want Jesus to have died for their sins. And I'd like to say I wish that not a single man or woman had ever died to make sure that I had a life to lead under the auspices of our national identity. I'm grieved by it. I've got family members who died in these conflicts. I've got many loved ones who have served this nation, but it's a troubling thing. And I wondered, how do pacifists deal with Memorial Day? How do they somehow step out of that longing for peace and no more war? And how do they still give respect to those who were willing to sacrifice? These are not easy things to discern. Memorial Day's been with us since 1866, when those first wreaths of flowers and things were laid on the Civil War veterans' graves. And we've continued this honoring. There are typically concerts and parades. I'm just sad. If there's over 1 million US citizens that have died in warfare, I can't even fathom how many have died globally. And yet, we stand on the shoulders of these people. We, in some measure, honor them because to be an American, to be a citizen of this nation, to live here means that there is some connection, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, for those who paid the ultimate price. I sit with that sadness, and I want to remember war is not the answer. I want to think about a world that doesn't need war. I want to think about Maya Angelou, and she had a wonderful poem about standing on the shoulders of others. I want to think about those people who fight for peace too. I want to think about those who would not go to war and who maybe were incarcerated or had to leave the nation because they had convictions that were so strong that they wouldn't allow themselves to be put in that predicament or placed into harm's way, or they wouldn't dare hurt another human being. I want to remember everyone on all sides of this thing. I want to remember that as we give an uplift to those who made the sexual revolution possible, that we give thanks to them. I want to remember those who gave of their lives to make this a country and in many measures frame the life that we lead now, I can't imagine that the United States could even be if warfare weren't a part of it all. Would we still be somehow connected to Great Britain in a different way had there never been that conflict? Would slavery had ended had the Civil War not happened? Korea is still not a unified peninsula. Vietnam, the world wars. Does your head spin?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. And the reality is, though, that this technology we're using today to be together probably came from military research. You understand? The cell phone is as a result of military research. So much of what we live with, I believe television, was as a result of military research.
GPS.
And so where would we be? Could we be? I have questions. So I want to do this right now. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt as I look to honor those who did things that I'm not in agreement with, but whom I have benefited from. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt for why they did it, the just cause, that there be such a thing as a just war theory, that some things ought to not be acceptable within human relationships, and the wicked things that have happened over time. If you ever watched a series called The Jews and you try to understand the thousands of years of Jewish people being demonized and made fall victim to others, or those pagans who chose not to follow the dictates of Christianity, or those Muslims who were expelled from Spain and killed, or Portugal, or the Native Americans who even until recently were fighting to be able to do their religious life without governmental denial or blockage. Look, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's easy to be disappointed by others. And Facebook, it runs amok with people who are firing shots, or Twitter, or people just firing at each other. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I want to have no malicious content in what I'm saying. I want to be about positive things and honoring the human spirit. I want to tell people that I see them, the pacifist and the person that's an engaged military person, the person that flies a flag for the United States and the person that flies the peace flag. I want to tell people that I see them, that I have an ability to try to hold all these things. I want to tell people from wherever the spectrum or of sexuality or racial kind or religious affiliation, or wherever you are on the spectrum of the human family, that you're seeing, and acknowledge that we as human beings see one another. We can honor one another. Namaste to one another. I want to ditch the sarcasm and the snark. I'm telling you folks, there's too much of it. It's causing harm to people. I want to caution us not to go online and be people that do this firing off of things. I want to beg of each of you, if you're not getting good sleep, get good sleep, because in order to be the best you need sleep. I want to remind all of us that we stand on the shoulders of everyone that's done research to help us be where we are today. Carlos, I don't know who came up with those accounting principles. I remember I took accounting 1 and accounting 2. I ran for my life, but somebody thinks those things are the most valuable tools. right? Des, I don't know what you use with your work, but you know, for the social workers, for the teachers. Now, I wish I could get those seeds from you. I need to put some butternut squash in my garden. For Barbara, your amazing ability to manage things over years and years. Listen, Art, how you're brilliant in so many ways and you tinkle the ivories almost like you're Liberace. Listen, Trudy is such a joy. She comes into the adult RE class with more information than I have. I love her. She is so brilliant. Look, we're standing on not just the shoulders, we're walking hand in hand with each other, and you're teaching one another how to be our best selves. This is important. This is necessary. And the last thing is about this denomination of ours, and in particular, UUCR. So our president, Susan Frederick Gray, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, sent out a letter, and I hope some of you have read it. I would like all of you to read it. But she's asking us to move slowly, to pause, to keep connecting using technology. And I know there's a desire for many to be back together. What a wonderful thing when we're in our beautiful sanctuary on those beautiful acres. And it's springtime now to look outside of those glass windows and see the beauty of the land about us. But we need to pause, and we need to think, and we need to move, not because the governor said we can move, and certainly not because the President of the United States said to move, but to move with caution. Houses of worship, religious homes, are essential. But if we can do the work of our spiritual/religious community and keep each other safe, I want that to be in the minds of all of us and for us to be careful. I want us to understand that the denomination that we're a part of is working hard to figure things out. I want us to be mindful of the fact that the ideas of our faith community are going to be manifest in the General Assembly that's going to be online and in virtual space like this. And so you can engage your faith community maybe like never before. It's going to be accessible to you right in your space. I want you to be good UUs. I want you to understand that it's our congregation, and it's our Central East region, and it's our denomination, and we stand better together. We're stronger together. There's lots of information. Oh,
Reverend Bailey, with all due respect, we do have our annual meeting at 12 o'clock, and we still have one more musical piece.
We do have the piece, and so I'm going to close you out with this. No matter where you've been, no matter who you love, no matter what you call yourself, no matter how far your dreams have taken you, to the West Coast now, to the far reaches of this planet, know that your faith goes with you everywhere. Know that you have ancestors and others that you rest and lean on their shoulders and arms. And know that you have a community here at UUCR that's going to hold you in loving embrace. Blessed be.